The most important thing about wristwatches is how they look. In this day and age, even their time-telling capacity is beaten by that on your mobile phone. I think most people out there just use watches as a fashion accessory, and to an extent that's my view on them too. If a watch doesn't look good, chances are I won't buy it and I certainly won't wear it. I want something that I can be pleased to have on my wrist. Well, luckily the watch that I'll be reviewing today, I think it looks absolutely phenomenal and it's available for under £200, making it a great dress watch option. This is a new piece from German brand Junghans and is part of their range celebrating 100 years of the famous Bauhaus art school. I saw it pop up on their website late 2019 and I thought it'd be worth grabbing at some point to look at on this channel. I finally pulled the trigger and here it is. The Junghans brand, founded by Hugo Junghans, dates back to 1895 and acted as one of the main sponsors of the Bauhaus until its forced takeover by the Nazis in the early 1930s. I think that's some cool history and it's one of the reasons why I consider these to be more true Bauhaus rather than imitating it. These watches are made in Germany by Point Tech alongside the popular Zeppelin watches too. That original Junkers aircraft division was absorbed into Messerschmitt in 1969 and the Junkers name was only seen on central heating products really until the watch brand spawned in 1996. I believe in some regions these are sold under the brand name Iron Annie, which is a colloquial reference to one of their old planes. I personally prefer the Junkers name, I think it looks nicer, sounds nicer. Either way, I'll link an interesting read about the full backstory of Hugo Junkers, this brand and that, in the video description so you can read it afterwards. Design-wise, you'll definitely notice a similarity between this and some of the Junghans models. Both brands' offerings are sewn with Bauhaus design cues, this particular model having a really minimalist dial with slim markers all around. For me, it's the little details like the font selection, the hands and the small round tips at each 90 degrees that separate good design from just average design. This watch features a lovely sunburst texture, giving this slightly cream dial a beautiful reflective appearance from a variety of angles. This is made all the nicer when paired with the warp from the domed Hesselite glass. I love the distortion that you get, especially from a side-on angle with dress watches like this. As nice as the glass looks, unfortunately, this type of plastic really isn't going to hold up well to scratches. Nevertheless, it is more impact resistant versus other types of glasses like mineral and sapphire. And not to mention, it's also less reflective, it's a hell of a lot easier to film B-roll footage with, but if you're looking for some scratch resistance, you're not going to get that with this one. Brands sometimes opt for this glass because apparently it gives their watches a more retro appearance due to the increased distortion that Hesselite can allow for. I imagine that's the reason that Junkers opted for this, because it is a fairly retro styled watch. You can make up your own mind about what type of glass that you prefer, but for me personally, I'd rather have a bit more scratch resistance. I'm not particularly bothered about sort of impact resistance. I don't recall really dropping watches onto hard surfaces and I don't plan on doing so. Either way, this glass is paired with a really slim case. This one comes in at 10mm in depth, including the raised glass, and just 6.5 without it. This sits comfortably on the wrist and reasonably flat without looking too imposing. This should easily slip under long sleeves if you're wearing them. Something I love about these Junkers 100-year Bauhaus watches is that they come in two sensible sizes for men. A 38mm version, which is the one I have here, but also a slightly larger 40mm one. That means that you can just opt for whichever one fits your wrist the best. This 38mm model has a lug-to-lug size of 41.6mm, and as such, it just sits really well on my skinnier wrist. One of my biggest frustrations with the Orient Bambino, which is a very similarly styled watch to this, is that it doesn't come in a size comparable to this really. With Junkers, I don't have that issue. This one really hits the sweet spot. Overall, the stainless steel used feels good quality, though I'll have to test this watch for longer to be a full judge of that. The case has a high shine finish throughout, which I suppose suits the dress purpose of this piece. The crown is relatively small, though it's perfectly functional, it's got enough grippy grooves. I think for this style of watch it's just the right size too. The case back has 4 screws holding it in place, which provides the watch with a surprising 50 meters of water resistance. I think that's quite good for a watch of this style. I would have only expected 30, to be honest. This will definitely cover you for day-to-day use though. Probably don't go swimming in this. Within the case, and powering this watch is no aircraft engine, unfortunately. It's just the basic Miyota 2035 quartz movement. While this movement is okay, it's nothing special considering the cost of the watch. These are a really popular choice these days among micro brands, and they're accurate enough, if not underwhelming. I know some of you in the comments say that you've had great experiences with these. I personally can't say that. Overall, this one hits the second markers more consistently than other Miyotas I've reviewed in the past, though it does still miss the markers a little more than I'd like. It is to be noted that you can get watches around this price point with automatic movements inside, such as that Orient I mentioned before, though I imagine that would be pretty tricky to do at this price point whilst keeping the overall production in a European country. So in this case, I can give it a little bit of leeway. They do make other watches with different movements inside, including a few mechanical ones, but unfortunately, not with this one. For practicality's sake though, I like having a quartz movement inside a dress watch like this. If I'm only wearing this occasionally, it's easy to just grab this and go, no time adjustments or anything like that to worry about. The 18mm strap included with this watch is made of some kind of unidentified leather. From the feel of it, I'd imagine it's some form of genuine leather. The best word to describe this is just average. The leather feels fine, but not the best I've tried. Unfortunately, there are no quick release tabs on this one either, so you'll need a tool to change it. It's not bad quality though, just don't expect anything particularly plush. I imagine it'll at least serve its purpose. The watch arrived beautifully presented in this box too, which I thought was worth sharing. I really like this one. To summarise then, this watch looks great, has a strong level of finishing, and has some history behind it. I think for a dress watch, it ticks all the boxes that it needs to. The specifications on paper aren't the best that you can get at this price point, but I think the design more than counters its shortcomings. If you can't afford something like a Junghans or don't want to splash that extra cash for a similar look, then this Junkers brand might be worth opting for. You get a very similar aesthetic with German build quality for a fraction of the price. I'm not saying it's as good as Junghans, I don't want you to think that, but it is certainly more affordable and it's a good alternative. This one, especially when it comes in below £200. This one I nabbed for £130 when it was on offer, which I've been really pleased with, and I look forward to wearing it more in the future, that's for sure.